Zara stood at the tall window of the Keltharian embassy and looked out at the strange world below. Earth, the planet of humans. The place where she would spend the rest of her life. The thought made her stomach twist with fear. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors she had never seen on her home planet. Orange and pink mixed together like fire across the horizon. It was beautiful, but it was not home. Nothing here felt like home. "The treaty is final," Ambassador Krell said from behind her. His voice was calm and steady, like always. "The humans have accepted all our terms. Your husband will be a man named Daniel Brooks." Zara closed her four-fingered hands into fists. Her pale blue skin looked almost white in the fading light. She wanted to scream, to run, to do anything but accept this fate. But she was Keltharian. She had been raised to serve her people. And right now her people needed this marriage to secure peace with the humans. "When do I meet him?" she asked. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. "Tomorrow morning. The wedding ceremony will happen in 3 days. 3 days. Only 3 days to prepare herself for a lifetime with a creature she did not understand. 3 days to learn how to live with a human." Zara had studied everything she could find about humans in the past few months. She had read their history, watched their entertainment programs, and listened to reports from other aliens who had dealt with them. Everything she learned made her more afraid. Humans were warriors. They came from a death world, a planet so dangerous that it killed most species who tried to visit. The gravity was too strong. The weather was too wild. The animals were too deadly. But humans had survived it all. They had fought their way to the top of their world and then fought their way to the stars. Other species in the galaxy called them crazy. They called them reckless. They said humans felt emotions too strongly and acted without thinking. But most of all, they said humans were possessive. When a human claimed something as theirs, they held on to it with terrifying strength. And now Zara was going to belong to one. She walked back to her room after the ambassador left. The space was small but comfortable, filled with items from her home world. Blue crystals from the caves of Kelthar hung on the walls. Soft fabric and shades of silver covered her bed. Pictures of her family sat on the table beside her. Zara picked up the frame that held an image of her mother and father. They had said goodbye to her a week ago before she left for Earth. Her mother had cried, which was rare for Keltharians. Her father had held her hand and told her to be strong. "This is for our world," he had said. "Your sacrifice will bring peace to millions." Sacrifice. That was the right word for it. Zara was sacrificing her future, her freedom, her chance to choose her own path, all for a treaty between worlds. She sat down at her desk and opened the computer file that held information about Daniel Brooks. His picture appeared on the screen. He was 32 years old, 5 years older than her. He had dark hair that was cut very short and eyes that were deep green, like the forests of Earth she had seen in videos. His face was strong and serious. The picture showed him in a military uniform, standing straight and tall. He was a soldier, a fighter, someone trained to hurt and kill. The file said he had fought in 3 different wars and earned many awards for his bravery. Bravery. Humans love that word. They loved the idea of facing danger without fear. But Zara was full of fear, and she saw nothing brave about being forced into a marriage with a stranger from another world. The file told her more about him. He was born in a place called Colorado in the mountains. He had a sister who was also married to an alien, someone from a species called the Ventarians. He liked to read and hike and study military history. He drank something called coffee every morning and did not eat meat. These small details were supposed to make her feel better, to make him seem more real and less frightening. But they did not help. Zara could not imagine sitting across from this human at breakfast, watching him drink his coffee, trying to make conversation with someone so completely different from herself. Keltharians did not marry for love. They chose partners based on logic and planning. Families looked at genetic information and social standing to find good matches. Couples spent years getting to know each other before making a final commitment. Love, if it came at all, came slowly over decades of partnership. But humans were different. Humans fell in love fast and hard. They wanted passion and romance and constant affection. They touched each other all the time, holding hands and kissing and embracing. The thought made Zara feel sick. She did not want a stranger touching her, no matter what their marriage contract said. She had heard stories about human marriages. The humans called it bonding, and they treated it like the most important thing in their lives. A human spouse would want to know everything about her. They would want to spend all their time together. They would expect her to feel things she did not know how to feel, and worst of all, they would expect her to be happy about it. Zara turned off the computer and lay down on her bed. She stared at the ceiling and tried to imagine her wedding day. She would wear the crystal crown of her people and the long silver robes that marked her as a member of an important family. Daniel would probably wear his military uniform. People from many different worlds would watch as they promised to stay together forever. Forever. Such a long time to spend with someone she was afraid of. She tried to sleep, but her mind would not quiet down. Questions kept spinning through her thoughts. What if Daniel was cruel? What if he demanded things from her that she could not give? What if he got angry when she could not be the warm, loving wife that humans expected? The Keltharians who had arranged this marriage promised her that Daniel had volunteered. They said he wanted this union, that he believed in the peace it would bring. But that made it worse somehow. What kind of human volunteered to marry an alien? What did he expect from her? Maybe he wanted a wife who would obey him without question. Maybe he saw this as a way to own someone from another world. Maybe he thought she would be so grateful to him for agreeing to the marriage that she would do whatever he wanted. Or maybe he was one of those humans who wanted to save everyone. She had read about them. The ones who thought they could fix everything and everyone. Maybe Daniel saw her as a project, a lost alien girl who needed a strong human to take care of her. Either option made her angry. She did not want to be owned and she did not want to be saved. She wanted to go home. She wanted to wake up in her own bed on her own world, surrounded by people who understood her. But she could not have any of those things. The treaty was signed. The arrangements were made. In 3 days she would marry Daniel Brooks and her old life would be over. Zara finally fell asleep as the Earth sun began to rise. Her dreams were full of green eyes and strange forests and the feeling of being trapped in a place she did not belong. When she woke up a few hours later, her fear had not faded. If anything, it was stronger. Today she would meet the human who would be her husband. Today she would look into the eyes of the man who held her future in his hands. She dressed carefully in traditional Keltharian clothing. A long blue dress that matched her skin, silver jewelry that had been in her family for generations. Her hair, which was naturally silver white, hung loose down her back. She wanted to look like herself, like a proud Keltharian, not like someone trying to please the humans. The embassy staff led her to a meeting room. It was decorated with items from both Earth and Kelthar, an attempt to make both species feel comfortable. Zara sat in a chair and folded her hands in her lap. She made herself breathe slowly and evenly, the way she had been taught since childhood. She heard footsteps in the hallway. Her heart began to beat faster. The door opened and Daniel Brooks walked into the room. This was the moment that would change everything. This was the beginning of her new life, whether she wanted it or not. Daniel Brooks stepped through the door and Zara felt her breath catch in her throat. He looked different from his picture. Taller somehow, more real. His green eyes found hers immediately and something in his expression was soft. Gentle. Not what she expected at all. He stopped walking when he was still several feet away from her. He did not come closer. He did not try to touch her or invade her space. He just stood there and gave her a small smile. "Hello," he said. His voice was quiet and calm. "I'm Daniel. You must be Zara." She nodded but could not make words come out of her mouth. Her throat felt tight. Her hands gripped each other in her lap. Daniel looked at the chairs arranged in the room and gestured toward them. "Would you like to sit? Or we could stand if you're more comfortable. Whatever you prefer." The fact that he was asking her what she wanted confused her. She had expected him to take charge, to tell her what to do. That was what the report said humans did. They were leaders, commanders, people who made decisions for others. "Sitting is fine," she managed to say. They both sat down, leaving an empty chair between them. Daniel leaned back in his seat, but not in a relaxed way. More like he was trying to make himself look less big, less threatening. His hands rested on his knees where she could see them. The silence stretched out. Zara searched for something to say, but every thought in her head seemed stupid or wrong. Finally, Daniel spoke again. "I know this situation is not what you wanted," he said. "I know you didn't choose this. I want you to understand that I'm aware of that." Zara looked at him directly for the first time. "But you chose it. The records say you volunteered. Why would anyone do that?" Daniel was quiet for a moment, like he was thinking carefully about his answer. My sister married someone from another world 5 years ago, a Ventarian named Kelvin. I watched how much their choice mattered, how it helped bring peace between humans and Ventarians. When I heard about this treaty, about the need for another union like theirs, I thought maybe I could help in the same way. So this is duty for you, Zara said. Service to your planet. Yes, Daniel admitted. But that doesn't mean I take it lightly. You're a person, Zara, not just a treaty term. You have thoughts and feelings and fears. I want to respect that. Zara felt something crack in the wall she had built around herself. This was not the conversation she had imagined having. She had prepared for demands, for expectations, for a human who would tell her how things would be. She had not prepared for kindness. I'm afraid of you, she said suddenly. The words came out before she could stop them. I'm afraid of all humans. Everyone says your kind is too intense, too emotional, too possessive. Something flickered across Daniel's face. It looked like hurt, but he did not get angry. He did not raise his voice or defend himself. He just nodded slowly. I understand why you would think that, he said. Humans have a reputation. We do feel things strongly. We do form bonds quickly. But that doesn't make us monsters. It just makes us human. How can I trust that you won't try to control me? Zara asked. How do I know you won't expect me to be something I can't be? Daniel leaned forward slightly, his green eyes serious. You can't know that for certain. Not yet. Trust takes time to build. But I can promise you this right now. I will never force you to do anything you don't want to do. This marriage might be arranged by our governments, but how we choose to live it is up to us. What does that mean? It means we make our own rules, Daniel said. It means we figure out what works for both of us. It means I don't expect you to suddenly act like a human wife just because we're married. You're a Keltharian. I knew that when I agreed to this. I'm not looking to change you. Zara studied his face, looking for signs of lies or hidden intentions, but his expression was open and honest. Either he was very good at pretending or he actually meant what he said. Tell me about yourself, Daniel said, changing the subject. What do you like to do? What makes you happy? The question surprised her. Why do you want to know? Because we're going to be living together, Daniel said simply. I'd like to know who you are, not just what the reports say, but who you really are. Nobody had asked her that before. Not the diplomats, not the embassy staff, not even her own family in the last few months. Everyone had been so focused on the treaty and the politics that nobody seemed to care what she thought or felt about any of it. I like science, she said slowly. I was studying biology before all of this happened. I wanted to learn about different forms of life across the galaxy. That's wonderful, Daniel said, and he sounded like he meant it. Earth has incredible biodiversity. Maybe once you're settled, you could continue your studies here. Maybe, Zara said, though she could not imagine feeling settled enough to focus on science. They talked for over an hour. Daniel asked questions and actually listened to her answers. He told her about his own life, about growing up in the mountains, about losing his parents when he was young, about joining the military because he wanted to protect people. I'm not a complicated person, Daniel said at one point. I believe in doing the right thing even when it's hard. I believe in keeping my word, and I believe that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. Those are good beliefs, Zara said quietly. I hope so, Daniel replied, because they're going to guide how I approach this marriage. I want you to feel safe, Zara. I want you to feel like you have choices. When their meeting time was almost over, Daniel stood up. He looked down at her and offered his hand, palm up. Zara stared at it. She knew this was a human greeting, a way of showing peace and good intentions. Her hand trembled as she reached out and placed it in his. His skin was warm and his grip was gentle. He held her hand for just a moment before letting go. I won't pretend this will be easy, Daniel said. We're from different worlds in every way that matters. But I promise you this. I will do everything I can to make this work. To make sure you're okay. You don't have to trust me yet. I know I have to earn that. But I will try every day to be worthy of your trust. Zara stood up, still feeling the warmth of his hand on hers. Why are you being so kind to me? Daniel looked confused by the question. Why wouldn't I be? You're going to be my wife. Even if this started as duty, you deserve kindness. He walked toward the door, then paused and turned back to her. I'll see you tomorrow. We have another meeting scheduled. And Zara, if you need anything before then, anything at all, the embassy staff knows how to reach me. Please don't hesitate. Then he was gone and Zara was alone in the meeting room. She sat back down in her chair and tried to make sense of what had just happened. Daniel Brooks was nothing like what she expected. He was not aggressive or demanding. He did not try to touch her beyond that single handshake. He did not talk over her or dismiss her fears. Instead, he had been patient, understanding, respectful of her space and her feelings. He had asked about her life and listened to her answers like they mattered. Zara put her face in her hands and took a deep breath. This was more confusing than if he had been exactly what she feared. She had prepared herself to fight against a controlling human husband. She had built walls around her heart to protect herself from someone who would try to own her. But Daniel did not seem interested in owning her. He seemed interested in knowing her. That night, Zara could not sleep again. But this time it was not just fear keeping her awake. It was confusion and something else, something she could not quite name. Hope, maybe, or possibility. She thought about the way Daniel had looked at her. Not with hunger or possession, but with genuine interest and respect. She thought about his promise to never force her into anything. She thought about how he had kept his distance, giving her space to breathe and think. Maybe, just maybe, this would not be as terrible as she feared. The next morning, they met again. And the morning after that, each conversation was easier than the last. Daniel continued to be patient and kind. He told her stories about Earth and asked questions about Kelthar. He made her laugh once by trying to pronounce a word in her language and getting it completely wrong. On the day before the wedding, they walked through the embassy gardens together. The earth plants were strange and colorful, so different from the blue and silver vegetation of her home world. "Are you nervous about tomorrow?" Daniel asked as they walked. "Yes," Zara admitted. "Very nervous." "Me too," he said, and she was surprised by his honesty. "I want to do right by you, Zara. I don't want to fail at this." She looked at him and saw real concern in his eyes. He was not just worried about the treaty or his duty. He was worried about her. "I think you're trying," she said softly. "That's more than I expected." Daniel smiled at her, and for the first time Zara felt a tiny crack in her fear. Just a small one. But it was there, letting in a little bit of light. The wedding day arrived faster than Zara wanted. She woke up early in her room at the embassy, her stomach full of nervous energy. Today she would officially become Daniel Brooks' wife. Today her life would change forever. The embassy staff helped her prepare. They dressed her in the traditional crystal crown of her people, the one that had been worn by Keltharian brides for thousands of years. Her robes were long and silver, flowing down to the floor in soft waves. Blue crystals were woven into the fabric, catching the light with every movement. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. She looked like a bride, but she did not feel like one. She felt like an actor playing a part in someone else's story. The ceremony was held in a large hall that had been decorated with items from both Earth and Kelthar. Blue crystals hung from the ceiling next to earth flowers. The chairs were arranged in rows, and they were already filling up with guests from many different worlds. Zara stood in a side room, waiting for her cue to enter. Her hands would not stop shaking. Ambassador Krell stood beside her, ready to walk her down the aisle since her father could not be there. "You look beautiful," the ambassador said. "Your people are proud of you." Zara nodded but could not speak. Through the doorway, she could see Daniel standing at the front of the hall. He wore his military dress uniform, dark blue with gold buttons and various medals on his chest. His hair was neatly combed and his face was serious as he waited. The music started. It was a blend of Keltharian and human sounds, strange but not unpleasant. Ambassador Krell offered his arm and Zara took it. Together they walked into the hall. Every eye turned to watch her. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat in the audience. News cameras recorded everything. This was not just a wedding. It was a historic moment, a symbol of peace between species. The weight of it pressed down on Zara's shoulders. She kept her eyes forward, focused on Daniel. As she got closer, she saw him watching her. His expression was calm, but she thought she saw nervousness in his eyes too. That made her feel slightly better. At least she was not the only one who was afraid. They reached the front of the hall and Ambassador Krell placed her hand in Daniel's. His fingers closed around hers gently, warmly. The officiant, a human woman with gray hair and kind eyes, began speaking about the importance of unity between worlds. Zara barely heard the words. Her mind was spinning with thoughts and fears and a strange sense of being outside her own body, watching this happen to someone else. Then it was time for the vows. The officiant turned to Daniel first. "Do you promise to honor Zara, to respect her choices, and to build a life where she feels safe and valued?" the officiant asked. "I do," Daniel said clearly. "I promise to honor her, to respect her choices, and to build a life where she feels safe and valued." The officiant turned to Zara. The Keltharian vows were different from human ones. They were about duty and partnership, not love and emotion. "Do you accept this bond and agree to honor the terms of this union?" the officiant asked in both English and Keltharian. Zara's voice came out steady, stronger than she felt. "I accept this bond and will honor our agreement." It was formal, clinical, nothing like the romantic declarations humans preferred. But Daniel did not look disappointed. He just nodded slightly like he understood. The officiant smiled. "Then by the power given to me by both Earth and Kelthar, I declare you married. You may seal this union with a kiss." Zara's eyes went wide. She had forgotten about this part. Humans always kissed at weddings. She looked at Daniel in panic, not ready for that level of physical contact. Daniel saw her fear. Instead of leaning in to kiss her lips like tradition demanded, he lifted her hand and pressed a gentle kiss to her knuckles. It was respectful, formal, and it did not push her boundaries. Relief flooded through Zara. The audience applauded and the ceremony was over. They were married. The reception that followed was long and exhausting. Zara smiled until her face hurt. She accepted congratulations from strangers who seemed to think this was a happy occasion. She posed for pictures and gave brief answers to reporters who asked how she felt. "Honored to serve my people," she said over and over. It was the truth, but not the whole truth. Daniel stayed by her side through it all. He did not touch her except when taking photos required it, and even then his hand on her waist was light and respectful. He deflected the pushier guests and made sure she had time to rest when she needed it. Finally, after hours that felt like days, they were allowed to leave. A transport took them to their new home, quarters that had been specially designed for them. The space was large and comfortable, with areas for both Keltharian and human preferences. Zara walked through the rooms in a daze. There was a living area with comfortable furniture, a kitchen that she had no idea how to use, and 2 bedrooms, one decorated in cool blues and silvers, the other in earth tones of brown and green. Daniel set her bags down in the blue bedroom. "This is your space," he said. "I won't come in here without your permission." Zara turned to look at him. "You're not going to insist we share a room?" "No," Daniel said firmly. "You need your own space, Zara. I'm not going to take that from you." She had been bracing herself for this moment all day. She had been afraid that once they were alone, Daniel would expect things from her. Physical things, intimate things, things she was not ready to give. But he was already walking toward his own room, giving her distance without being asked. "Daniel," she called out. He stopped and turned back to her. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for the kiss, for not pushing me." His expression softened. "You don't have to thank me for treating you with respect. That should be the minimum you expect." He went into his room and closed the door, leaving Zara alone. She sat down on her new bed and let out a long breath. She had done it. She had survived the wedding day. Now she just had to figure out how to survive the rest of her life. The first few weeks of marriage were awkward, but not unbearable. Daniel kept his promise about respecting her space. He knocked before entering any room she was in. He asked permission before sitting next to her. He never tried to touch her beyond the occasional accidental brush of hands. They established routines. Daniel woke up early every morning and made something called coffee that smelled bitter and strong. He would sit at the kitchen table and read news reports on his tablet while drinking it. Zara learned to wake up a little later, giving him time alone before she joined him. They ate breakfast together, usually in silence at first. Daniel would make simple food and always offered to make enough for her. Zara was not used to human food, but she found some of it acceptable. Fruit was good. Bread was tolerable. The coffee was terrible. During the days, Daniel went to work at the military base. Zara was left alone in the quarters, trying to figure out what to do with herself. She could not go back to her studies. She could not go home. She was stuck in between. Not really Keltharian anymore, but not human either. She spent a lot of time reading about Earth, She watched videos about different places and cultures. She tried to learn more about the strange world that was now her home. In the evenings, Daniel would return. He always asked about her day, even though her days were boring and empty. He told her about his work, explaining things in simple terms when she looked confused. "I review security protocols," he said one night. "I make sure our defenses are strong in case of attacks. It's not exciting, but it's important." "You fought in wars," Zara said. "The file said you were in combat." Daniel's expression grew serious. "I was, but that part of my life is over now. I requested a transfer to a desk position when I agreed to this marriage. I wanted to be able to come home every night." "Why?" "Because you're my wife," he said simply. "I thought you might need someone around, someone you could depend on." Zara did not know what to say to that. She had expected Daniel to put his military career first. Most human soldiers did, from what she had read. But he had changed his entire life for her. One evening, about 3 weeks after the wedding, Zara found Daniel on the small balcony attached to their quarters. He was standing at the railing, looking up at the stars. She hesitated at the door, not sure if she should interrupt. "You can join me if you want," Daniel said without turning around. "There's plenty of room." Zara stepped out onto the balcony. The night air was cool on her skin. She looked up at the same stars Daniel was watching. "Do you ever regret this?" she asked quietly. "Marrying me? Changing your life?" Daniel turned to look at her, surprise clear on his face. "Why would you think I regret it?" "Because I'm not what you expected. I'm not warm or affectionate. I don't know how to be a good wife, especially not a human wife." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Zara, I didn't marry you expecting you to change into something you're not. I married you knowing exactly who you are. Someone who is dealing with an impossible situation with more courage and grace than anyone should have to." "I don't feel courageous," Zara admitted. "I feel scared most of the time." "I know," Daniel said gently. "I can see it in your eyes. The same fear that was there the first day we met. Does it bother you? That I'm afraid of you?" "It breaks my heart," Daniel said honestly. "But I understand it. I'm a stranger from a species you don't trust. Of course you're afraid. I just hope that someday maybe you won't be." Zara looked at him, really looked at him. In the starlight, his face was soft. 2 months passed since the wedding, and Zara found herself thinking about Daniel more than she expected. She noticed small things about him. The way he always made sure there was her favorite fruit in the kitchen. How he turned down the temperature at night because he knew she preferred it cooler. The way he smiled when she successfully made a joke in English. She was beginning to understand something that frightened her more than his strength or his human intensity. She was beginning to understand that Daniel was not the threat. The real danger was how easy it would be to trust him, to let down her guard, to start feeling things she did not know how to feel. One afternoon, Daniel came home early from work. Zara was in the living area, watching a documentary about Earth oceans. She looked up in surprise when he walked in. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "Everything's fine," Daniel said, but his expression was troubled. "I just needed to talk to you about something." Zara felt her stomach drop. This was it. This was when he would tell her that he was tired of waiting, tired of her fear, tired of a marriage that was not really a marriage. Daniel sat down across from her, not next to her, always giving her space. "I got a message from my sister today. She wants to visit us next month. I told her I needed to check with you first." "Why would you need to check with me?" "Because this is your home too," Daniel said. "You should have a say in who comes here." Zara relaxed slightly. "Your sister can visit. I would like to meet her." "Are you sure?" "I know meeting new humans makes you nervous." He was right. It did. But Zara found herself curious about Daniel's sister, the woman who had also married an alien. Maybe she would understand some of what Zara was going through. "I'm sure," Zara said. Daniel smiled, and it reached his eyes. "Thank you. She's excited to meet you. She said to tell you that it gets easier." "What gets easier?" "Being married to someone from another world," Daniel said. "She struggled at first too, but she and Kelvin figured it out. They're happy now." The word happy seemed strange to Zara. She did not think happiness was possible in an arranged marriage between species, but maybe she was wrong about that too. That evening, Zara decided to try cooking dinner. Daniel usually did the cooking because he was better at it, But Zara wanted to do something to contribute in some way. She found a recipe for pasta that looked simple enough. It was not simple. The kitchen quickly became a disaster. Water boiled over on the stove. She added too much salt to the sauce. The pasta stuck together in a clump. When Daniel came in to see what was happening, he found her standing in the middle of the chaos looking defeated. "I wanted to make dinner," she said miserably, "but I ruined everything." Daniel looked around at the mess and then he started laughing. Not mean laughter, but the warm kind that made his whole face light up. "It's just pasta, Zara. We can clean this up. And hey, you tried. That's what matters. Well, you're not angry." "Why would I be angry? You were doing something nice." Daniel rolled up his sleeves. "Come on, let's clean up together and then we'll order food." They spent the next hour cleaning the kitchen and laughing about the disaster. Daniel told her about his own cooking failures when he first lived alone. Zara found herself relaxing, actually enjoying his company. When the kitchen was clean, they ordered food from a nearby restaurant. They sat on the couch to eat, and for the first time, Zara sat close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "Can I ask you something?" Zara said. "Always." "Why are you so patient with me?" "Most humans wouldn't be. Most humans would have given up by now." Daniel set down his food and turned to face her. "Zara, you're dealing with something incredibly hard. You were taken from your world, from your family, from everything familiar. You were married to a stranger you had every reason to fear, and despite all of that, you get up every day and you try. You learn about Earth. You talk to me even when it's uncomfortable. You make an effort. That takes real strength." "I don't feel strong," Zara said quietly. "Strong people rarely do," Daniel replied. "They just keep going anyway." Something in Zara's chest felt warm. She realized it was gratitude. Daniel saw her in a way nobody else did, not as a treaty term or a diplomatic tool, but as a person who was doing her best in a bad situation. The next few weeks brought more changes. Zara started joining Daniel on his morning coffee routine. She still did not drink the bitter stuff, but she liked sitting with him in the quiet morning hours. She started asking more questions about his work, his life, his thoughts on things. Daniel seemed happy about her increased interest. He opened up more, sharing stories from his childhood and his time in the military. He told her about losing his parents in a transport accident when he was 18, about how his sister had helped raise him even though she was only 2 years older, about why he joined the military and what he hoped to do after his service ended. "I want to teach," he said one morning, "maybe at a university. I'd like to help train the next generation of officers, teach them how to lead with honor and integrity." "You would be good at that," Zara said. "You're very patient." Daniel smiled at her. "I've had good practice lately." Zara felt her face grow warm. Was she blushing? Could Keltharians even blush? She was not sure, but something in Daniel's expression said he noticed. Then the message came that changed everything. Zara received an official communication from Kelthar. A faction within the government was challenging the marriage. They claimed it was invalid because Zara had not given proper consent. They said she was being held against her will by the humans. They wanted the union dissolved immediately. Zara read the message 3 times, her hands shaking. This should have been good news. This was her chance to go home, to escape this arranged marriage, to return to her old life. But as she sat there staring at the words, she realized something shocking. She did not want to leave. Daniel came home to find her sitting on the floor of the living area, the message still displayed on her tablet. He immediately crouched down beside her. "What's wrong? What happened?" Zara showed him the message. Daniel read it quickly, his expression growing serious. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know," Zara said honestly. "I should be happy about this. I should want to go home, but I don't, and that scares me more than anything." "Why does it scare you?" "Because it means I've changed," Zara said. The words came out in a rush. "I came here hating this situation. Hating you, maybe. At least hating the idea of you. But you're not what I thought you would be. You're kind and patient, and you make me feel safe. And now I don't know who I am anymore. Am I still Keltharian if I want to stay with a human?" Daniel sat down on the floor next to her. "Change doesn't mean betrayal, Zara. You're not less Keltharian because you've adapted to life here. You're not betraying your people by finding a way to be okay with this marriage. You're surviving. That's what your people do. That's what all people do. But what if they're right? What if I have been influenced? What if I'm not thinking clearly?" Then we'll figure it out together, Daniel said firmly. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think you're finally letting yourself feel safe enough to be honest about what you want. Zara looked at him and suddenly she saw him clearly. Really saw him. Not as a threat or a stranger or even just her husband. She saw Daniel. A good man who had been nothing but kind to her. A man who had changed his whole life to make room for her. A man who asked for nothing while giving her everything she needed, I'm afraid, she whispered. I know, but you don't have to be afraid alone anymore. Zara made a decision. She sent a response to the Keltharian government. She stated clearly that she was not being held against her will. That while the marriage had been arranged, she chose to honor it. That she was where she wanted to be. The response caused an uproar. Some praised her loyalty to the treaty. Others questioned her judgment. A few even called her a traitor. But Zara found that she did not care as much as she thought she would. That night she could not sleep. She kept thinking about her decision and what it meant. Finally, she got up and walked to Daniel's room. She knocked softly on his door. Come in, his voice called. Zara opened the door. Daniel was sitting up in bed reading. He set his book aside immediately when he saw her. Is everything okay? I wanted to thank you, Zara said. For everything. For being patient with me. For giving me space when I needed it. For never making me feel like I owed you anything. Daniel stood up and walked toward her, stopping at a respectful distance. You don't need to thank me for treating you right. Yes, I do, Zara said. Because you could have been different. You could have been exactly what I feared. But you weren't. You gave me time to see that not all humans are what the stories say. You gave me time to see you, and what do you see? Daniel asked softly. Zara took a step closer to him, then another, until she was standing right in front of him close enough to feel the warmth from his body. I see someone I trust, she said. I see someone who makes me feel safe. I see someone I want to be around. Daniel's eyes searched her face. Zara, you don't have to force yourself to feel anything for me. This marriage doesn't have to be more than a partnership, I know, Zara said. But what if I want it to be more? She saw surprise flash across his face. Are you sure? I don't want you to feel pressured, I'm not, Zara said. She reached out and took his hand, the way he had done at their first meeting. I'm choosing... The morning after Zara's late-night visit to Daniel's room, she woke up feeling different. Lighter, somehow. Like a weight she had been carrying for months had finally lifted. She had made her choice. She had chosen to stay, to try, to let herself feel something for the man who had been so patient with her. She found Daniel in the kitchen, making his morning coffee as usual. But when she walked in, he smiled at her in a way that made her heart do something strange. Good morning, he said. Did you sleep okay? Better than I have in weeks, Zara admitted. They sat down together for breakfast. It was a normal morning routine, but it felt different now. The silence between them was comfortable instead of awkward. When their hands accidentally touched while reaching for the same plate, Zara did not pull away. My sister arrives next week, Daniel reminded her. Are you still okay with that? Yes, Zara said. I want to meet her, and her husband. They're good people, Daniel said. You'll like them, and I think you and Katie will get along well. She understands what you're going through. Over the next few days, Zara found herself actively spending more time with Daniel. She started sitting next to him on the couch when they watched shows together. She asked him to teach her more about Earth culture. She even tried his coffee once, though she still thought it tasted terrible. I don't understand how you drink this every day, she said, making a face. Daniel laughed. It's an acquired taste, like a lot of Earth things. Am I an acquired taste? Zara asked suddenly. Daniel's expression became serious. No, you're not something I had to learn to appreciate. You were always worth knowing. I just had to wait for you to let me. Zara felt that warmth in her chest again. It was happening more often now. Every time Daniel said something kind, every time he looked at her with those patient green eyes, she felt it. She was starting to understand that this was what humans meant when they talked about feelings, about caring for someone beyond duty or obligation. When Daniel's sister arrived with her husband, Zara was nervous but ready. Katie Brooks Mason was shorter than her brother, but had the same green eyes and dark hair. Her husband Kelvin was tall and thin, with the purple skin and large eyes typical of Ventarians. Katie hugged her brother hard, then turned to Zara. She did not try to hug her, which Zara appreciated. Instead, she offered a handshake. "It's so good to finally meet you," Katie said warmly. "Daniel's told me so much about you." "He has?" Zara glanced at Daniel, who looked slightly embarrassed. "Only good things," Katie said quickly. "He said you're smart and brave and that you're handling a difficult situation with real courage." Kelvin stepped forward and greeted Zara in Keltharian, which surprised her. His accent was not perfect, but the effort was clear. "It is an honor to meet another who has made the journey between worlds." They all sat down in the living area. Katie and Kelvin shared their story. Katie had volunteered for a diplomatic mission to the Ventarian homeworld and met Kelvin there. They had fallen in love despite the cultural differences and the distance between their worlds. "The first year was really hard," Katie admitted. "I didn't understand Ventarian customs. Kelvin didn't understand human emotions. We fought a lot, but we kept trying." "What changed?" Zara asked. "We stopped trying to change each other," Kelvin said. "We accepted that we were different and learned to love those differences instead of fighting them." Katie looked at Zara with understanding eyes. "Daniel told me this marriage was arranged. That must be so much harder than what we went through." "It was scary at first," Zara said honestly. "I had so many fears about what it would be like to be married to a human. But Daniel has been very patient with me." "That's Daniel," Katie said fondly. "Always thinking about others before himself. Even when we were kids, he was like that." They spent the day together. Katie and Kelvin shared funny stories about adjusting to each other's worlds. They talked about the challenges of interspecies marriage and how they had overcome them. Zara found herself laughing more than she had in months. At one point, Katie pulled Zara aside while the men were in the kitchen getting drinks. "Can I give you some advice?" Katie asked gently. Zara nodded. "My brother is one of the best people I know, but he's also stubborn about putting everyone else's needs before his own. He'll wait forever for you to be ready for more, even if it means he never gets what he wants. So, if you do develop feelings for him, tell him. Don't make him guess." "I think I already have feelings for him," Zara admitted quietly. "I just don't know what to do about it." Katie smiled. "You're already doing it. You're here, you're trying, you're letting yourself be open to the possibility. That's all you need to do. The rest will come naturally." That night, after Katie and Kelvin left, Daniel and Zara cleaned up together. It had become one of their routines, working side by side in comfortable silence. But tonight, Zara kept thinking about what Katie had said. "Your sister is nice," Zara said. "I liked her." "She liked you too," Daniel said. "She sent me a message saying you were exactly right for me." Zara looked up in surprise. "She said that?" "She said you were strong and thoughtful, and that I was lucky." Daniel paused in his cleaning and turned to face her. "She was right, I am lucky." "I'm the lucky one," Zara said softly. "You could have been anyone. You could have been exactly what I feared. But you were you. And that made all the difference." Daniel set down the dish he was holding and took a step toward her. "Zara, can I ask you something?" "Yes." "That night you came to my room. You said you were choosing me. Did you mean it?" Zara's heart beat faster. "Yes, I meant it." "And now?" "Do you still feel that way?" "More than before," Zara admitted. "Every day I feel it more. Is that normal? For feelings to grow like this?" Daniel smiled. "Very normal. That's how love works, Zara. It starts small and grows bigger until one day you realize you can't imagine your life without that person." "Love," Zara repeated the word. "I'm not sure I know what that means. My people don't think about it the way humans do." "Then let me explain it from a human perspective," Daniel said. He moved closer until he was standing right in front of her. "Love is wanting someone to be happy, even if their happiness doesn't include you. It's respecting their choices and supporting their dreams. It's being patient when things are hard and celebrating with them when things are good. It's choosing them every day, not because you have to, but because you want to." "That sounds like what you've been doing for me," Zara said. "Yes," Daniel said simply. Because I fell in love with you months ago. I fell for you the first time you laughed at one of my jokes. I fell for you when you tried to cook and made that disaster in the kitchen. I fell for you every time you made an effort to understand Earth culture, even though it was strange and scary. I fell for you, Zara. And I've been waiting for you to feel safe enough to maybe fall for me too. Zara felt tears in her eyes. I don't know if what I feel is love. I'm still learning about human emotions, but I know that I think about you all the time. I know that I'm happy when you come home. I know that when you smile at me, I feel warm inside. I know that the idea of leaving you makes me sad. Is that love? It sounds like love to me, Daniel said gently. He reached up and wiped away a tear from her cheek. But you don't have to call it that if you're not ready. You can call it whatever you want. I want to call it love, Zara said. Because that's what it is. I love you, Daniel. I don't know when it happened or how, but I do. Daniel's whole face lit up with joy. Can I hug you? Zara nodded and Daniel pulled her into his arms. It was the first real embrace they had shared. Zara stiffened for just a moment, old fears rising up, but then she relaxed into it. Daniel was warm and solid and safe. Being held by him felt right. I was so afraid of this, she whispered into his chest. I was afraid of you and afraid of what you would want from me. But you never wanted anything except for me to be okay. That's all I'll ever want, Daniel said, for you to be happy and safe. They stood there holding each other for a long time. When they finally pulled apart, Zara looked up at Daniel and made a decision. She stood on her toes and kissed him. It was not perfect. It was awkward and uncertain because she had never kissed anyone before. But it was hers to give and she wanted to give it. Daniel kissed her back gently, not pushing, just accepting what she offered. I'm still going to be afraid sometimes, Zara said when they broke apart. I'm still going to have moments when I don't know what I'm doing or how to be a good wife. That's okay, Daniel said. I'll be afraid sometimes too. I'll make mistakes and disappoint you sometimes. But we'll figure it out together. That's what marriage is. Choosing each other, even when it's hard. The weeks that followed were the happiest of Zara's life. She and Daniel grew closer every day. She started sleeping in his room some nights, just wanting to be near him. They held hands when they walked. They kissed goodbye when he left for work. They built a life together that felt real and chosen, not arranged or forced. Zara started her studies again, enrolling in courses about Earth biology. Daniel supported her completely, helping her with the more difficult human concepts and celebrating every success. She made friends, other aliens living on Earth who understood what she was going through. She learned to cook more Earth foods without setting off the fire alarms. She even learned to like coffee, though she would never admit it to Daniel. 6 months after their wedding, Zara and Daniel sat on their balcony watching,